I was only 4 years old when my mother disappeared. 4 years old. That is so young. Too young to understand that the world could just swallow someone up and leave nothing behind. But I remember her. I remember her golden hair, so long it fell past her waist, straight and beautiful like sunlight. I remember her smell. Even now, so many years later, I can close my eyes and I can still smell her. She called me her little sugar doll. I was the light of her life, she used to say. I was her baby. That October day in 1980, the leaves were turning colors and the sun was shining. My brother and I played outside. I did not know it then, but that was the last ordinary day. After that, nothing was ever ordinary again. My mother took us to a picnic that afternoon. She seemed happy, but looking back now, I think she was saying goodbye. She told my Aunt Patricia that she was leaving my father. She said she was going to be free and there was nothing he could do about it. She did not know that he would make sure she was never free again. That night she put me to bed like always. She kissed my forehead. She tucked the blankets around me. I did not know that was the last time I would ever feel her hands on my face. In the middle of the night she disappeared. Just vanished. Like smoke. Like she was never there at all. And I slept through it. I slept through the last moments of my mother's life. That is something I have to carry with me forever. 3 days after my mother vanished, my father put my brother and me on an airplane. He said we were going to visit our grandparents in Rhode Island. I was excited. I did not know anything was wrong. I was just a little girl going on an adventure. Then my father showed up alone a few days later. He sat us down and told us the news that would shape our entire childhood. He said, "Your mommy is gone. She is never coming back. She is a drug addict and an alcoholic. She ran off with another man because she does not love you anymore." I was 4 years old. I believed him. Why would I not believe him? He was my father. So I grew up thinking my mother had abandoned me. I thought she did not want me. I thought I was not worth coming back for. Every birthday passed with no card. Every Christmas passed with no gift. Every year the silence told me the same thing. She does not love you. She never loved you. My father made sure we believed it. He told us over and over again, always the same words like a chant. She is a slut. She is a drunk. She does not want you. He said it so many times that it became the truth in my little girl heart. But sometimes in the quiet moments I would remember things differently. I would remember her laugh. I would remember the way she held me. And I would think maybe, just maybe, they were wrong. I need to tell you about my father. I need to tell you what he really was. From the outside we looked like any family. He remarried. We went to school. We had a house. But inside those walls there was a monster. My father had a temper like a bomb. You never knew when it would explode. He would scream at us for no reason. He would beat us with belts until we had welts and bruises on our arms and legs. In the summer, I wore long pants to school so the teachers would not see. I learned to hide the pain. I learned to hide everything. But the beatings were not the worst thing. I wish I could tell you they were. The worst thing started within 6 months of moving to Rhode Island. My father began coming to my room at night. He did things to me that no father should ever do to a child. I was so young. I did not even have words for what was happening. I just knew it was wrong. I knew it was dirty. I knew I wanted it to stop. But it did not stop. It went on for years. He had a favorite threat. He would look at me with those cold eyes and say, "If you do not do what I tell you, if you do not do what I want, I will kill your brother." And I believed him. I believed he would do it. So I stayed quiet. I let him do what he wanted. I protected my brother the only way I knew how. When I was 9 years old, I found courage from somewhere. I do not know where it came from, but I wrote a letter to my stepmother. I told her everything. I left it on the kitchen table. My father sat there reading it, crying like a baby, saying he would change. My stepmother took that letter and she burned it in the sink. She looked at me and said, "We will never talk about this again." A few days later, my father slammed me against the wall. He put a gun in my face. He said, "If you ever say anything to anyone again, I will kill you. I will blow your head off." I never said another word. Not for years. Eventually, my brother told someone what was happening. The police came. I told them about that morning. A rape kit proved it was true. They handcuffed my father and took him away. As they let him out, he turned and looked down the hallway at me. His eyes were calm and cold. I had seen that look before. I thought, if he gets out, we are all dead. He will kill us all. My brother and I were sent back to Kentucky to live with our grandparents, my mother's mom and dad. For the first time in my life, I was safe. But I still did not know the truth. In their living room, there was a picture on the wall. A woman with short curly hair. I looked at that picture for days. I did not know who she was. Finally, I asked my grandmother, "Who is that?" She said, "That is your mother." I stared at her. That was not my mother. My mother had long golden hair, straight as a board, down to her waist. This woman was a stranger. I did not understand. I kept waiting for my real mother to come back. Every morning I would wake up slowly, in that fuzzy place between sleep and waking. I would lie still and I would listen. I just knew that any moment, there would be a knock on the door. It would be her. She was not dead. She was coming back for me. I had that hope every single day for years. Then one day, I asked my grandmother, "Do you know where my mom is? Do you know what she is doing?" She looked at me with such sadness in her eyes. She took my hands. She said, "Honey, your mom is dead. She has been dead." I asked, "How did she die?" She said, "Your father killed her." The world stopped. Everything stopped. My mother did not abandon me. She did not run off with another man. She did not stop loving me. She died trying to save me. She died trying to protect me and my brother from the monster that was my father. In that moment I made a promise. The very least I can do as her child is to see that she gets justice. The very least I can do is make sure the man who killed her pays for what he did. When I was grown, I went to the police. I asked them to reopen my mother's case. A detective named Tim Carnahan listened to me. He believed me. He started digging through the old files. There was a skull that had been found a year after my mother vanished. 2 hunters found it in a field, 2 miles from where we used to live. For 21 years, that skull sat in an evidence room with no name. No one could prove who it was. But in 2001, DNA technology had finally advanced enough to test it. They took a sample and compared it to mine. Then we waited. 2 months. 2 months of not knowing. 2 months of hoping and praying and being terrified. Then the results came back. It was her. It was my mother. That was probably the second worst day of my life. Learning 110% that she was gone. No hope. No coming back. No chance that maybe, somehow, she was still out there. But at least now we had proof. At least now we could call it what it was. Murder. The detectives kept working. They found out that while in prison for what he did to me, my father had called his own dad and confessed. He told him he shot her, put her body in a sinkhole, pushed her car in the river. But his father would not testify. The confession could not be used in court. So they set up a trap. They asked my grandfather to call him again, this time with them listening and recording. I was not there, but I heard the tape later. My grandfather asked him, "Do you not even feel bad for killing her?" And my father said, "I do not have any kind of conscience about anything." Those words. Those cold, empty words. That was the man who was my father. A man with no conscience. A man who killed my mother and felt nothing. They arrested him for murder and flew him back to Kentucky. On the plane he started talking. He was afraid of dying in prison. He wanted to tell his side. He told them what happened that night. My mother said she was leaving. She said she was taking us kids. He said, "The hell you will." She screamed at him. She said, "I know what you have been doing. You have been molesting our kids." And he shot her 5 times in the face. Then he pulled out her jaw with a saw or a knife so no one could identify her teeth. Then he put her in a sinkhole like she was garbage. One detective asked him, "You do not seem to have any remorse at all." And my father looked at him and said, "Killing that woman meant nothing to me. It was like getting up in the morning and tying my shoes." Tying his shoes. That is what my mother's life meant to him. That is what 24 years of her life added up to. Tying his shoes. The trial did not take long. The jury was out for less than an hour. They found him guilty of murder and tampering with evidence. When the verdict came back, I almost fell. If my brother had not been holding me, I would have collapsed right there on the floor. We were so relieved. It was like, oh my gosh, it is over. We have done it. After 23 years we have done it. William Major was sentenced to spend the rest of his life in prison for killing my mother. I have spent so much of my life absolutely terrified of that man. He haunted my childhood. He haunted my dreams. He took my mother from me and then he took my childhood too. But when I heard that sentence, I looked at him and I realized something. I do not feel anything for him anymore. Not hate. Not fear. Nothing. He is just empty. On a September afternoon 23 years after she died, we laid my mother to rest. We put her in the ground with prayers and tears and flowers. Family came. People who remembered her came. They told stories about how beautiful she was, how kind, how much she loved me. I stood at her grave and I cried. But they were not just sad tears. They were relief. They were peace. For so long I felt haunted that it had taken this long. For so long I carried the weight of her unfinished story. But that day, standing there in the sunshine, I finally felt like she could rest. And maybe I could rest too. I am grown now. Have my own life. But sometimes in the quiet mornings, I still wake up slowly. I still lie there in that fuzzy place between sleep and waking. And for just a moment, just a tiny fraction of a second, I listen. I listen for the knock on the door. I listen for her voice. I listen for my mother. Then I wake up all the way and I remember. She is not coming back. She has been gone for so long. But here is what I know now that I did not know then. She never left me. She never stopped loving me. She died trying to save me. She died trying to protect me from the monster. And I kept my promise. I got her justice. I made sure the world knew her name. I made sure she was not just a missing person, not just a skull in an evidence room. She was Marlene Major. She was my mother. She was the light of my life, just like I was the light of hers. The little girl who waited for a knock on the door finally understands. Her mother was always there. In her heart. In her memories. In the promise she kept. Rest now, Mom. You earned it.